Every time I try and start recording, the neighbour's dog starts barking, so we're going to put up with it in the recording. Anyway, today we're working on a 6-wheel drive Land Rover Perentie in a very bog hole of a front yard. It's been very, very wet. Anyway, I have upgraded the suction pump bay with a lot of other stuff in a previous series of videos. I have our mains inverter, our solar regulator, and our mains charger. What I left behind was the 24 to 12 volt converter that once upon a time ran the suction pump. I'm now using it to run some 12 volt stuff, and this is the bit of the wiring that I haven't done much with, and it looks very messy and it's bugging me because the only way to really sort this out is a single fuse. So I'm thinking of trying to neaten this up and maybe replacing the merit socket that's up the top there as well, that's running most of my gear. On top of that, this little wire here runs to a 4G modem I've just installed, and it's also going to that one fuse with no switch. Now, there is also a bed that goes on the other side of this, and those banana plug terminals are poking into where the pillow would go. So we really want to solve all of that stuff today. So I'm going to pull together some bits and pieces and see what we can do. Alright, so as usual, the wiring colours are not as per the diagram, and I do have one buried in my collection somewhere, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be our 24 volt in, this red wire. I think we have a common ground, or maybe, I'm not sure, this might be the 12 volt out, and we have a green wire which I guess may be ground that's connected to a black wire. I think it's probably safe to assume that's our ground, so I'll have ground, common, and I'll have 24 volt in and 12 volt out. I'm going to confirm that with a multimeter first. And now I'm thinking about using epoxy to stick this up here because it's too thin to put screws through, and we might stick it down, but I want to wire that first before I stick it on. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. Alright, so we have confirmation. Our black/green wire here is a common ground. The wire coming in here, our brown wire, is our 12 volt wire, and our purple wire is our 24 volt in. We know that. Where these are going off into the rest of the body, I don't know. That's really interesting. They might be going up to the fuse box. I'm not sure. Or they could be going off to the buzzer in the front. I don't know. I'm going to have to check the diagram to figure out what used to go there. Alright, we have a little bit going on here now. We have our grounds connected with this ground screw because I couldn't find my bus bar that I bought. I have the 12 volt out from the regular 24 to 12 volt converter here, and I have the positive off to my auxiliary circuits. Now this ground goes off back to the battery ground, as do all of these other black wires. They're all grounds. There's like 3 grounds here. So this ground wire goes back to battery ground, so does this. So I'm happy using separate grounds for that. White wires are still a bit of a mystery to me, not sure what they're doing. But now we know where the 24 volt is, we can connect up to that. I may even install a switch for the regulator in here, though there is a main breaker that I can shut everything down on. We're fairly close to having the fuse in line and getting the wiring neatened up and gluing this fuse box on. But we'll keep going. I need to insulate this first. Alright, we've got things temporarily connected. We can see a red light here indicates that there is a load on that circuit, but the fuse is blown or missing. We have our 24 volt connected here, which is clearly flagged. It can be easily disconnected. We will add a switch. This is insulated. I know this is a dodgy job, but this will get replaced later with a proper bus bar. It is insulated. I'm just being careful because these 2 bus bars here, this one is our ground and this one is our 24 volt hot rail. So we don't really want all of that stuff being interconnected. And so we'll be keeping the bus bars well across the other side, and I'll be finding an insulated one for that. Anyway, I do need to get this glued on, but I just want to check that there aren't any other circuits that I want to hook up just yet. Alright, there was something I missed. This is our 4G modem connection that had been on the banana plug terminals. I'd like this to be separately fused. So we're going to hook that up to its own fuse as well. That means we can pull the fuse if we need to. I may even install a switch in there. We'll see what happens once we get everything else hooked up. But for the moment, I need to hook out the ground wire on this. Alright, we've got our modem flagged and wired up. And we utilised one of our spare grounds for the modem. It just keeps it from floating around. Might not be the most recommended thing. I will be probably transporting all of this to the one common ground bus with a proper wire back to the battery at some point. But we've got two of these indicating that they're live. We're going to unplug our 24 for the moment, and we're going to glue this in. Now, there's a bit of a weird phenomenon that happens every time I touch epoxy. The first one is somebody calls me. The second thing, I get it all over my hands and it's really hard to get off. Although now that I've got the sponsor of Grit Mitt soap, that's not so hard. And then somebody comes and asks me for help. It happens every time. So about half an hour has passed. Hopefully our epoxy has set. Can we remove our emotional support rattle gun out of the way? Take a bit of tape off. I think that's on nice and firmly. Alright, for once, epoxy actually worked for me. I have marked my 24 volt in. Crucially, the fuse on this was only on the 24 volt side on the input, which we need to have a quick inspect. It looks pretty clean. Right, and the astute among you will notice that the colours are actually marked on the unit. I didn't spot that initially. So now we have 24 volt in to 24 volt supply. They can go together. And our fuses should light up. Now we have a 7.5 amp fuse. We might stick on our main supply. And I think we might do the same for the 4G modem. If we start pulling more than that, we're going to have some troubles. That should turn things on. Now we want a few spare fuses in the bay here. Okay. There's a few other things I'd like to do. We'll see if I have time to make them happen. I may not. I've got our nice little fuse cover here. That looks so much neater. Now I've got to zip tie some of these cables up and do some cable management. But otherwise, we're looking like we've got the essentials done. I can sleep better at night. Alright, I think that looks much better. I mean, there's still room for improvement, but it's still much better. And I've untangled the mains lead off the inverter here, which is good. And it's on nice and firmly. That's good, and I can sleep a little bit better knowing there's fuses in that circuit. Now, there is this crusty old socket up here. That's a Merit plug. I wonder if I should try and replace that with a 98 degree one. I'll see if I can loosen a nut. If I can't, I might leave it be. Alright, so try as I might, I can't get that off even with a socket. And it's corroded to hell, so I'm going to spray it with contact cleaner and plug it back in for this trip. But later on, I'm going to install a 90 degree one directly below it. And that's a Merit plug. You can look it up. I can't find one to show you an example, or can I? I think I can reach this here. This is a Merit plug. Pretty much the predecessor to the cigarette lighter socket. And much better. But yeah, I think I'm just going to clean that up, hook it up because it's working for the moment. It'll get us through our next trip. Then after that, I'll do some more with it. Now, I've been staring at this for a little while, and I realise I can probably do a much better job of all of this rather than just zip tying it up and shoving it in the corner. I'll probably shorten up these cables and probably do some proper point-to-point. The exercise today is basically making it a little bit safer than it was, which I feel that it is slightly. But I think, yeah, in the future we may clean this up further, and I'll make some little covers and whatnot for the back of these, and we might get like some Aussie duct or something to deal with that. I've given this a little bit of a vacuum out. We'll put our tray of parts back in very shortly. In any case, I think we're pretty well done for this video. I'm running out of time, so I need to get packing and get going. So see you all in the next one, and I hope it was interesting.